Hey guys, welcome to JasonWhiskyWise and myself, Jason, bringing you whiskey review number 41, where we're going to review the Macallan 12-year-old Fine Oak. Now this is part of the 12-year-old range, which I'm going to be bringing out two more following this video, where we'll feature the Sherry Oak and I believe the Double Cask as it's named. So we're going to do a couple of these, and I got given these in a tweet tasting, so quite great stuff in that side. So anyway, in terms of that, we're going to move into the video itself, and I'm also going to mention quickly, we are going to do a little bit more Japanese, a little bit of, say, Indian whiskies, and some more Speyside whiskies for the upcoming video. So just so you know what's coming soon. So we'll pour ourselves a little dram and get started. So to begin this whiskey review, this is a 12-year-old whiskey in terms of age. It is bottled at an ABV of 40% ABV. And now in terms of the cask selection used, they use exceptional oak casks, they use European sherry oak, and they also use bourbon casks. And so they've got a combination of the few used in this whiskey. Now the distillery itself is the Macallan distillery over here, and they are owned by the Edgington Group. And also the distillery is located in Speyside, Scotland. Now if you don't know where Macallan is, there is a lot of huge Macallan fans. It's a very big collectible whiskey and also seen as the Rolls Royce in the Scotch whiskey world. So a lot of names it's had going in the past. Now in terms of price point of view, you are looking at £60 for a full bottle, and I actually haven't pinged the bottle there, so there we have a bottle. So £60 for the full bottle, just so you know what you're seeing in terms of how it does look. And that is a price comparison of online websites and shops in central London. Now in terms of exclusivity wise, it is not exclusive. And in terms of caramel colouring, there is no caramel colour added to this whiskey. Macallan state that everything that they do produce is natural colour. So next we're going to move into the assessment of the actual colour for this whiskey, considering it is natural colour, and it does have a rather light appearance to it. So I'm going to go with something more towards, let's say, a pale gold, or I was going to say a straw, but it does have a slightly more goldeny colour. Let me see what you guys think over there. And let me know if you've tried this Macallan 12 Fine Oak. Let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. But I'm going to go with a pale gold. So let's begin by assessing the nose of this whiskey. So into the nose. To begin with the nosing of this whiskey, it does start out very, very nice and sweet. It sort of reminds me of OT biscuits, giving me that sort of a little bit of a malty sort of feeling to it. I'm getting lots of sort of vanilla, and this is more like heaps of vanilla, but more quite clean from the actual vanilla pods itself. Dried apricots, and also quite a rich Bramley, well, I'd say ripe Bramley apples, quite, you know, ready, bursting with flavour. I'm going to have a second nosing, but I'm getting a little bit of a citrusy note right behind that. So there's definitely a citrusy spice going on right behind that, more towards, like, say, spiced oranges that have been left out to dry. And then right behind that, a slight grassy note, which does sort of play itself ever so subdued behind. And then poached pears and a little bit of honey drizzled over the back, giving it more sweetness and just adding to those soft, fruitier notes. So next, we're going to move into the palate for this whiskey. So into the palate. To begin the palate for this whiskey, it does start out quite nice and light in texture. It does develop ever so slightly, but not enough for me to completely say it changes the whiskey completely. And then it sort of gives you those sweeter notes and a little bit of a spicy note as well. So the way I describe that, it sort of starts out with icing sugar, sort of just drizzled over the top, or actually sprinkled over the top of a vanilla custard tart. Right behind that, I'm getting a little bit of, reminds me of grapefruit zest. Just a little, giving me this burst of citrus flavour, and then a wood spice with a slight bit of a gingery warmth sort of just coming through and just making a sort of a mouth-warming feeling. It's a really enjoyable palate. It's quite sort of more towards, I'd say, like a dessert, but not super sweet, but at the same time having that maintaining balance between sweet and spice. So next, let's move into the actual finish for this whiskey. So into the finish for this whiskey, it does have a very nice sweeter note that sort of lingers all around the palate, but then you do get that little sharp, citrusy bite that sort of just adds a slight bitter note to the finish. And then right behind that, I'm getting sort of like a vanilla oak infused with a little bit of icing. Again, it's all like just you taking a scoop of icing powder, put it in your mouth, and it's sort of just literally melting, but you're getting the sweeter notes and a little bit of dry notes all over the palate. So quite an interesting finish on this whiskey. Sort of ends, I'd say, a bit prematurely than I would have liked. So sadly, it's not as long, but I'd say it's more towards a short, medium finish. So we're going to get my actual rating, and then we'll conclude the whiskey. So I'm going to give it in the mid-80s I'm going to go with an 84 out of 100. And the reason behind that is because it's a good whiskey. It just doesn't offer the complexity. And the reason behind sort of why I'm saying that is the price point of view. This whiskey does remain very consistent in terms of flavor profiles of vanilla, the sweet spices, and the citrus from nose, palate to finish. But when you put in the price at £60 for the full bottle, and you're not getting so much depth, I feel you're paying more money and not really getting so much what it should be offering. So on that note, that's where I feel it sort of takes away from giving it a higher rating. If it was around about maybe mid-40s, maybe maximum up to 50, I could see that getting a much higher rating because it's such an enjoyable whiskey, but price point does subtract a lot and I feel that's unnecessary. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Also, in terms of adding water, I have tried this without water and with water. When you add a little bit of water, it just does take all the spices all together and it makes it very light. And I feel it's too light for my palate, so I personally wouldn't advise water. But let me know if you have tried the Macallan Fine Oak 12-year-old and let me know in the comment section down below, or let me know on my blog, which I'll leave. It's JasonWhiskyWise.com. So I'll leave that somewhere here if I can. But on that note, I'm going to wrap up the video. I'm going to be uploading next the Macallan 12 Sherry Oak and the double cask, which will be here and here. If you are just staying, well, if you're new to my channel, be sure to click the subscribe button then to be up to date with all my latest videos. And on that note, I'm going to wrap the video there. But this has been Jason from WhiskyWise, and I'll catch you all for the next video.